Hi, everybody. Welcome to another Beta Change Minisode. I'm here live with Sarah Mobach, who is joining us from Sweden. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us on your very first Minisode. Sarah is an influencer on diabetes and also in a lot of social media spaces, and she's here to talk to us about the relationship that we have with food as people living with diabetes. So Sarah's going to talk to us a little bit about her diabetes journey. And if you can introduce yourself, Sarah, that would be great.
Yeah, hi. Thank you so much for inviting me to this. And I am so excited. My name is Sarah, as you told, and I live in Sweden. I've had type 1 diabetes for a little bit more than 16 years now. And I also received celiac diagnosis at the same time. Today, I have one of Sweden's largest blogs about type 1 diabetes. And with my social media, I try to motivate and to inspire and to give advice on how you, as a type 1 diabetic, can make dreams come true. I mean, both big and both small ones.
Great.
And I also try to not to be overcome by your diagnosed.
Yeah, and I think I've had diabetes actually for 15 years as well. And I think that it's one of those things that, the longer you have it, the more it changes. And so can you tell us if you've, maybe experienced any changes in your relationship with diabetes and maybe how you've been feeling about that when you started to sort of be more active on social media and sort of speak more openly about it? Has that changed at all over the years?
I mean, since I got my diagnosis, I was asked to be in those children's group with the parenting and children and type 1 diabetes and eating, but I totally said no. I didn't want to be part of the diabetes world. But since I started blogging and talking with other people who have diabetes type 1, I realized that I I got so much feedback and so much positivity about it. So yeah.
hmm Yeah, I know how that feels because when I first was diagnosed, I didn't want to have anything to do with diabetes or to really talk about it at all. So sometimes now that I find myself talking about it a lot and being more active as an advocate, it's kind of funny to see how things can change so much.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I mean the world is getting smaller because you
Yeah,
have friends all over the world.
exactly. And I'm in Boston and Sarah is in Stockholm. So, it's really funny how we can connect also online, but then, in person when we're traveling and you
Yeah,
can hang out with your diabetes friends and in addition
yeah,
to,
definitely.
meeting other people in all parts of the world. So, that's one of the best things I think about having this network that we can have that sort of starts on social media and then extends outward. Do you
Yeah,
think so?
yeah.
Yeah,
It feels so great.
it does. Yeah. Any choices that you've been making have changed over the years. I know you spent some time in the U.S. When you initially started your career with one plan, right? And then that changed over time.
Yeah, I started to play the violin as a 4-year-old, and I was focusing really hard to make a career as a musician. And after a few, when I was getting older, I moved to Stockholm, and I was getting 2 years in music school in Stockholm. But after the 2 years, I realized that I wanted to do something completely different. So I took my decision to move to Los Angeles and to start study business administration. So after
Cool.
1 year in the States, I moved back home to Sweden and I took my graduate in purchasing and logistics. So today I'm currently work as a category and purchasing manager in Nordic region's leading retail companies.
Awesome. So I was wondering how had diabetes kind of played into that at all? Did you you were telling me a little earlier how when you went to study in the States, you kind of had to plan around having diabetes and working, living in a different healthcare system than the one that you have in Sweden. Have you encountered that anywhere else in the world as you've led to what your current position is?
I mean, I think I've always have had a positive side on my own disease and my own
Mm.
diabetes. So I think the hardest part
Yeah.
is that I have the disease and I'm allergic to peanuts. So
Yeah.
the main reason why I got into different countries' hospital is not because of my diabetes, it's because of my peanut allergic.
Yeah, I think it's a fun game to play when you're like, what could be causing my health problems if it's not diabetes?
Yeah, yeah,
If it's diabetes, it's sort of an easier
definitely. And
solution sometimes.
I've been having those times when I've been calling my dad, like in the middle of the night, and oh, hello,
Yeah.
I'm like in in Germany, or I'm in London, or I'm in the US, and oh, I'm in the hospital. So what should I say to him? Because my dad is a doctor. So yeah,
Oh, okay. Well, he's probably
he's used
worried
to
if
it.
you're calling him about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Well, so Sarah, what we really wanted to talk to you about today, which it's something that you feel really passionate about, the relationship between diabetes and food, and also how people are interacting and involving themselves on social media now. And so I wanted to see what kind of like sparked your interest in that, and also for people who are watching, I'm Katie, and this is Sarah, and we're having a conversation today about the relationship between diabetes and food. So actually, we have a comment. Let's see if we can show that. Are you able to see that, Sarah? I can read it to you. Okay. So it says it's good that it's now being discussed openly as there are more people with diabetes and a lot more kids are also being diagnosed with it. And a lot of people are struggling dealing with it. And a network really helps be a support system and educate. So I really agree with that. I think that's
Yeah.
something that's super important. And that's just what we were saying, how small the world can be sometimes. And I think that having conversations like the one we're having right now is so important. And it's just only going to help people who are just maybe starting to be introduced to this community and help them have more support. Do you think so?
Yeah, definitely. And I believe I mean, on online you can choose what to see and what kind of person you would like to follow. So I think there's a lot of people who have diabetes who shows their own like lifestyle with diabetes, and you can your own pick out your own people to follow. Do you get that?
Yes, yeah, no,
Yeah,
absolutely. I think that it's you can have good role models too,
yeah.
and you can find people that can help you. So is that what got you started on being a role model in the diabetes space? Or
Yeah, the first I started talking like on social media about my diabetes because I saw when I was living in the US, I saw a guy who who talked about diabetes as a kind of shitty diagnose, and he couldn't do
Mm,
anything. He couldn't make new friends. He couldn't party. He couldn't work. He couldn't travel or work out. And I was
all
like,
the negatives.
yes. And I was
Yeah.
like, what is he talking about? And then I was saying to myself, okay, if I'm going to do this, I am going to show people how life can be normal with chronic disease, and how travel and parties is not going to be a problem because you can do whatever you want to do. It's all in your head.
Yeah, and isn't that funny how normal it can be? It's
Yeah,
amazing, I think, is just sometimes it's much easier than we think it'll be,
yeah.
you know? Um, so can you tell me a little bit about, Sarah, maybe some ways that these negative connotations around food and around diabetes have affected you personally?
I think that, I mean, the first thing that come up in my mind is when the blood sugar curve is a competition. Like
Hmm.
you should, when I saw all those curves, it was like straight, like 24/7, like when you can take a
Yeah,
picture of it. And I was like, oh my God, that's not how my blood sugar curve is.
yeah,
And
I get that.
then I really love to compete. So I was thinking to myself, okay, I don't, if I don't eat carbs, if
Yeah.
I do work out like every single minute I have over, then my blood sugar curve will be as straight as theirs.
I hate that, right? It's not a
Yeah,
terrible feeling when you're like, oh, that is not what mine looks like today.
yeah.
You know?
But that's life because life isn't like a straight line.
Hmm. That's a good way to put it, I think. It's not a straight line. And things happen sometimes where,
Yeah,
you make choices that are maybe not like the best diabetes choice, but still it's like something that you think will
yeah,
be good for you if something adrenaline filled or
yeah. And I do
something.
still got questions a lot about what do you eat, how do you work out, and people with diabetes like are eating things that they don't even like, but they eat
Mm,
it because it doesn't affect the blood sugar.
yeah.
And I'm like, why do you why do you keep on going? Because
So,
you don't want to, you want to be happy. Like food makes
mhm.
you happy for
Is
sure.
it, yeah, if these choices going to make you happy? Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sarah, we got another question.
Hmm.
Um, so how can parents of newly diagnosed kids with diabetes help their child not feel different? What do you think about that? Because I think this has a lot to do with it, what we're talking about, like,
Yeah.
not eating the candy that other kids are eating, or, not eating birthday cake or something
Hmm.
like that, where they feel different. What are your thoughts on that?
Um, it's a hard question, and I was attending to be one of the leader for a diabetes children camp this summer.
Oh, okay.
So I was
Yeah,
talking
I've
to
done that too.
I was talking to a lot of parents about how to make the children with diabetes type 1 not to feel different. And it is hard because I don't believe that you should like delete the sugar stuff from the
Hmm.
diet or from if there is some kind of like party with the friends or something, the cake. I mean, take a smaller bite, eat something, and you will be like everyone else, but you are not eating the whole cake.
Right. It's just about including it in moderation, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will, for full disclosure, this question is from my mom. So I think it's something she probably thought about too. But I know other parents feel that way,
Yeah.
especially when people with diabetes posting the screenshots of the Dexcom and everything. But
Hmm.
parents with kids with diabetes are doing that too, and that I wonder how that sometimes would make the kids feel if they knew, if they're aware of that, or you know um, if there's this other layer of like public scrutiny to that,
Yeah.
right? It's like, there's other people who are looking at what your blood sugar was, and
Yeah.
maybe they're too young to care about it, but they might care one day because it's a
Yeah.
personal.
Because you don't, if the blood sugar getting higher, you don't personal feel that good, right?
Mhm.
And then I believe the children will learn that if I'm eating this and don't take insulin for that, like I don't, like you want to feel good all the time.
Yeah.
And you might get, yeah, you take your own choice, you make your own choices.
Yeah. And with social media, something you told me is that, the the reality of social media is that it's mostly only good things ever,
Hmm.
right? It's
Yeah.
only the good things that happen, but people live multidimensional lives where we have bad things that happen. We have high blood sugars, we have low blood sugars.
Yeah.
Um, and so what do you think, how do you think that affects people psychologically where they're in this social media world where they see people who it seems easy, you know, or it's like, oh, they're Dexcom is a straight line all the time.
Yeah. I think
Yeah.
I think we have to see that we have to remember that life isn't that good as we see on social media. And I mean, are, we all are guilty of it, even I am. And I know I put a picture on Instagram, for example, that looks more glamorous than the reality is.
Mm-hmm.
But y- like you see these all fabulous food and the glamorous vacation and yeah, but the truth, I mean, it's 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 not always fake, but it's you don't see the bad days. So I believe
Yeah.
when I'm on my Instagram, for example, I do have my feed, which is really awesome, and I see all these vacations and all these good blood sugar. And there's another group of people who like on the other side who's showing their bad blood sugar and the when they are crying or having a
Mm-hmm.
hard time. So I don't believe that there's a balance about it.
Okay. Do you think uh how does that affect the diabetes community, do you think, to have like some things to look at that are positive and then some things that highlight the negative?
I mean, for me, I believe it's a positive thing because
Mm-hmm.
when you wake up in the morning and you are feeling like, oh my God, I rule the world today, then
Yeah.
I do want to see the good stuff in diabetes. I want to see the powerful people and with the maybe great blood sugar. And the other day when I don't feel that good and I feel sore, maybe,
Mm.
then I wanted to see the people who are in the same position as I am. So I mean, you can choose every day which pictures or what kind of quotes you want to see.
Mm. And there can be positive things taken maybe from both. Maybe it's
Yeah,
like about um
like
how
we
do I
are
say?
supporting each other. And the good stuff
Yeah.
about social media is that you can always write to people and say, "Oh, I'm having a really bad day," and people
Mhm.
is going to answer. I promise.
Have you done that before? Have
Yes.
have you? Yeah. And
Yeah.
what are some responses that you've gotten that have maybe um helped
On
you?
some of the answer is I'm there with you. I'm on the same side. These days, I just want to go back to bed, but we need to fight this.
Yeah. And you keep going, right?
Yeah.
Has anyone asked you for words of inspiration?
Yeah, definitely. And
What do you say?
I mean, it's hard when you don't really.
Give an example.
I do have people who ask me like, how can you be so positive, and how can you have those good blood sugar, and so on. And then I can take my time to 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 comment like every day isn't a sunny day, and
Mm-hmm.
every day if even if I put up a photo of a great blood sugar, it doesn't mean I have a great blood sugar like 24/7. And it's the same with food. Even if I put up a picture of a pizza I'm eating, it doesn't mean I'm eating pizza every day. So I mean, just
Okay. Yeah.
reminding the people that life is it's
Yeah.
it's
It's more
it's
than just one moment,
yeah,
maybe. Yeah.
yeah,
I think that's important too, because I think, it can seem like it represents the entire world or your entire life, for example, right? Like it might seem like that, but maybe something the community gets strength from is by just getting what they need in the moment from each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I feel like on it's sometimes on social media it can feel so you forget that people are doing things for themselves, right? It's like maybe you posted the picture of the pizza because you wanted to remind yourself of the control that you have over your life and you can choose to eat pizza, but maybe it had an effect on somebody that was
Yeah.
like, oh, you know.
And I don't want to be a kind of, there's a lot of accounts on Instagram, for example, that is recovery accounts, and I
What does that
choose not,
mean?
like, people who have like anorexia or diabulimia, how do you say
Okay.
it? Yeah,
Yep.
or something, and they post picture on every meal they are eating, or how they picture of their faces on how they are feeling. And I don't see that. For me, it's not helping me to post pictures on what I'm eating. It's more powerful for me to show, like, put on pictures that I actually can eat pizza. And it's for two reasons. I'm a diabetic and I can eat pizza. I just need to take insulin for it. And number two, um, I did recover from anorexia, and I
Mm-hmm.
can eat. It doesn't make me fat. it,
Wow.
yeah, it makes me
I
happy.
I didn't know that that was a term that was used. Um, I didn't realize that before. So do you think so is a recovery count a way to kind of hold yourself accountable? Is that kind of what it is? Or
Um,
it's more of a way to share with
I
others?
think the people who have those account is their motivation is to help other people. But I think that the reality is that they maybe don't want to get loose the control of what they are eating.
Mm.
So they are posting pictures like on every meal, and
Mm-hmm.
then they get comments on, oh, you can eat more or blah blah. I mean, it's hard to explain, but I don't think it's healthy
Yeah. So
for no one.
what do you do, Sarah, to feel in control, either of your diabetes or of your eating or of both? Is there anything that you do that helps you?
It helps me to get involved to eat with my friends and my family, and to hang out with my friends. Like, I do believe that when you are in an eating disorder, like which one, you are getting more alone,
Mm-hmm.
and then
You
you
feel
can
alone.
like focus on the diet and the food you are eating. But that's not how life should be. I mean, the life should be when you can hang out with your friends and your families and go to restaurants and, yeah, drink whatever you want, take a soda, take a juice, eating McDonald's or having a salad. I mean, yeah.
And what do you think we can do to kind of work to change some of those perceptions that people like yourself, who might be more of a role model for other people, that we can do to kind of maybe change those feelings of like competition on social media and maybe the unhealthy sort of culture around food?
Oh God, I have no idea. Oh yeah, I do. But I believe
The big
that,
question, I
yeah,
know.
it is a big question.
Yeah.
I I do believe that we should give each other um, photos and like text about how we really feel about things, and don't take a photo of a meal or of a pasta or a pizza if you're not eating it. Like, you should
Mm.
take pictures and post the pictures if it is kind of reality, and not because it good looks on Instagram.
Yeah.
And I definitely we should talk about more about this. And I
Mm.
know a few years ago I was telling my friends that people with diabetes are talking so much about counting carbs.
Yeah.
And I do believe that people with diabetes get a little bit of hang up with the carbs because it affects you.
What
And
do you
you
mean
have
by
to
that?
like, I mean, if you are always trying to count the carbs and trying to measure up the food you are eating as a diabetic, it is, if you aren't, strong is a wrong word, but if you aren't like have a confident with yourself, this can for sure mess up your head.
I
And then
think
you see not diabetic people
Mhm.
and what they are eating and how they work out. I mean, it's fucked up.
What do you think about other aspects of the mental burden with diabetes? Like you mentioned feeling alone regarding when you have eating disorders. Did you feel alone too when you were also diagnosed? Maybe when you were first diagnosed as right before you were a teenager, I assume, or early teen.
Yeah. Um, I was feeling alone, but I was living in a small town where I was growing up as a child, and when they were trying to get me to this event with these other children who has diabetes type 1, it was only like 4 people and me. So I don't believe that the social, when I was diagnosed, like I mean Facebook didn't even exist.
Yeah, yeah.
So I couldn't really connect with other
Right.
people,
Yeah.
and I chose not to like get involved with this one because I didn't want to feel unnormal.
Mm. Yeah, I know. And I think feeling less alone is the part of it that is maybe the hardest, aside
Yeah,
from like the science related things that we do to manage our diabetes, like regarding eating and things like that. I think the community um is a big thing that can help not only with kids feeling less different, but now as an adult, when you've had all these things change from when you were first diagnosed to now.
yeah,
Um, I think that's, even if it's 4 people, it's still not just you, but
I know.
now we have access to so much more, right? It's just
Yeah.
changed so much. So what are you thinking about like some more conversations that need to be had around diabetes and eating and maybe around things like celiac and other challenges that people face that might not get talked about as much?
I mean, I feel like people are like with diabetes, it can cause anxiety because sometimes you have to eat because you are getting a hypo, for example, and that I mean we need to get these subjects up more to talk about the anxiety of eating, and when you're maybe you have already been eating and then you see your blood sugar like going down and like okay, I need to eat more but I'm still
Mhm.
full, but I do need to eat, and those kind of stuff. And and when people maybe at my work and there's we are calling the Swedish fika, and sometimes I I say no to the fika and to the cake
Okay.
because I don't want to have the cake because I'm not feeling for it.
Okay.
Sometimes I say no because I'm having a high blood sugar. So they don't even know how to react to me because they think I say no because I am having diabetes. And
Right. They don't understand.
I mean, yeah,
Hmm. No, I think that that's one of the hardest things is other people understanding, and having an
yeah,
awareness, yeah, of that. But then, it doesn't make you feel as different as it would maybe
yeah,
if they knew the reasons for your choices. But we do so much work in our minds, like
yeah.
to
Oh
figure
my
out
God.
that out, right? It's like being a mathematician. But I wish that my Beta Change teammate Ashley, one of the co-founders of Beta Change, she's a registered dietitian in Australia. So I think that this conversation that we're having would be really great to continue and invite her to join us at a more friendly time. Her time, I'm sure she's going to watch this when she wakes up in the morning. But I think that would be really important because I think a lot of the feelings about food and stigma about food that you were talking about would be really interesting to have input from somebody who is dealing a lot with the science behind that. So if you're interested, we'd love to have you back, Sarah. That would be great for another conversation. And I wanted to share another awesome comment we got that we're inspiring.
Yay!
Thanks, Mom.
Thank you, Mom.
You're inspiring too, because we need the support without, your dad that you were talking about, Sarah, who, you talk
he's
about.
He's supposed to watch this, but I don't know. I'm not sure he's got the technique.
If he's on Facebook. Well, we can send him the link later.
Definitely.
We're going to post it on YouTube, and we'll also have this still on Facebook, so he can watch it there too. Awesome. But yeah, thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. Sarah, was there anything that we maybe didn't talk about yet that you wanted to mention during this conversation? Because I know we talked about a lot of big things, and we can definitely, we'd love to have you talk again more, because I think that it's really important to have I want to say like maybe a behind the scenes kind of look at what social media really means for people, and talk more about what your feelings are as somebody who is a role model for people. So yeah, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you'd want to mention?
I think we talked about the most, but I just wanted to say that all of you are amazing, and we all are heroes.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think that's a really great message. I really appreciate your joining us today, and I think this is going to be a really important conversation to keep having, especially as social media changes more and more, and we have new ways of being in competition with each other, but also with connecting with each other. So thank you so much, Sarah. It was great to have you. And please, everybody who's watching, feel free to write any comments on the video, and I'm sure Sarah would be happy to answer the questions later. And we're looking forward to seeing you again. I hope you can join us for another interview sometime soon.
Yes. Nice to see you.
Great, Sarah. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody, and we hope to see you on Beta Change soon.